All right. Well, welcome again. I hope that you had a great reflection as we walked from the federal courthouse up to the district courthouse, crossing over the Mays Island Fairway there, heading into this Veterans Memorial Building. We're very glad that you are here this morning. My name is Dr. Carlos Grant. I am the principal, very proud principal of Metro High School. And we're glad you're here this morning. It is our hope that the information that you get this morning will spark a sense of activism in your city. The purpose of today's assembly is to encourage you, young people, to be active in the Cedar Rapids community and become active leaders. Additionally, we want to expose you to historical context that allows you to see the lessons learned from the past, and it's our hope that you can use those lessons and tools to create a positive change in a very productive way. A couple of house rules for today. There are restrooms in the back foyer areas behind us, so if you need to go to the restroom, just get up very quietly and do that. I'm sure you'll monitor yourself effectively. We are going to encourage students to use your cell phones today because we have a Twitter feed going on over here on the screen to my right, your left. And to do so, use the hashtag from Selma to CR, and that's 2, the number 2. So once again, that's hashtag from Selma to CR. The other hashtag that you can use is CR Law Day 2015. So either one of those two hashtags, and Mr. Tevin Robbins here is an individual from Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated who will be monitoring that Twitter feed, and you can see kind of what responses you have and what kind of emotions you have as we go through today's assembly. I will remind you, particularly our Cedar Rapids School District students, that the same rules and expectations apply in this facility as they apply in our building when it comes to appropriate language of that sort. I doubt we'll have that issue, but it probably won't be very smart to post anything inappropriate because we can all see it, and that won't be very good. So, but please use that Twitter feed if you feel so inclined to do so, to just give some reaction and feedback and spark the conversation going forward. Additionally, if you don't have cell phone technology or you don't have cell service, we have individuals in the aisles that are wearing shirts with these letters on it. Raise your hand, gentlemen. They'll have postcards and pencils, and if you want to give some, write some questions down or a comment that you want to give to one of the facilitators throughout the day, you can do that, and they'll run those cards up here, and we'll go through those questions. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have some very special guests today that's going to take us through 3 assembly-style portions, and we have breaks in between each one. I want to introduce those individuals now, and then they will go to their session throughout the day. First up, our first session today, we're going to have from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Northern District of Iowa. We have Attorney Sean Berry and Stephanie Wright. Will they stand? All right, Attorney, there you go. Give them a round of applause, please. A couple of things about them. They are 2 of the 17 assistant U.S. attorneys in Cedar Rapids. Their office is supported by paralegals, legal assistants, an auditor, a victim witness specialist, a law enforcement coordinator, admin staff, and so forth. Together, they have over 6 dedicated employees who work in different sections, such as criminal, civil, financial litigation, drugs and violent crime. And the U.S. Attorney's Office, their primary purpose is to act as the chief federal law enforcement official for the Northern District of Iowa. So there's 2 districts in Iowa, the Northern and Southern District, and we live in the Northern District. This includes 52 of Iowa's 99 counties. In addition to anti-terrorism efforts, this office also prosecutes violations of federal law, including drug, firearm, child pornography, and white-collar offenses. And they represent the United States in both affirmative and defensive civil actions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, Attorney Sean Berry and Stephanie Wright.
Well, I appreciate the applause that Principal Grant asked for me at the start of the program, because I never know if I'll get it at the end. We're missing some lodge representatives up here. Are there, let me ask you, is someone asked to be a representative to come up on stage? And if not, I'll take a couple. Seeing no one stand up. Carolyn Walker, why don't you come up if you would? And Melissa Foreman, if you would come up as well and have a seat up here. At the end of the program, we're going to ask the students to some questions about their thoughts. Was it here or no? I thought I saw her earlier. All right, there she is. She's second in the back. We just have a seat. So today's program from Selma to Cedar Rapids, the United States Attorney's Office is going to begin with a presentation about Selma. 50 years ago, in Selma, three civil rights marches highlighted to the world the racial injustice in the South, and ultimately directly led to the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965. World famous civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and high school students, just like you, were involved in the peaceful protests in Selma and involved in the battle in the federal court system to show the world that the injustice in the South as they fought for the right to vote. And this fight didn't come without significant cost. Many demonstrators and marchers in Selma were injured, some were killed. Today we're going to talk about the three historic marches in Selma and some of the heroes who marched. But before we do that, I'd like to give you kind of the background to set the scene for what was going on prior to the marches. In early 1960s, African Americans were systematically denied the right to vote throughout the South. They were denied the right to vote under ruses and abuses. African Americans were denied the right to vote based on bogus tests to register and other artificial and improper barriers. Two key organizations that I'm going to mention later, and that Stephanie Wright will mention as well, that were fighting for the right to vote in Selma and elsewhere were the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, that was called SNCC, and Dr. Martin Luther King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the SCLC. So in January of 1965, 62 black protesters were arrested in Selma after they refused to enter the Dallas County Courthouse only through the alley door. They wanted to go in like any other citizen of the United States, right? They weren't allowed to, and so they were arrested. The next day, 150 voter registration applicants were arrested for the same reason. After more arrests, a federal judge outlawed Selma's complicated voter registration test and ordered the city's registration board to speed up its registration of black citizens. This is exactly what the citizens sought. They sought court intervention and they got it, and yet county officials and law enforcement officers continued to prevent the black voters from registering to vote. As part of the Voting Rights Campaign, on February 18, 1965, there were civil rights demonstrators arrested, including James Orange, an SCLC field secretary in Marion, Alabama, which was near Selma. And demonstrators marched from the Zion United Methodist Church toward the city jail where James Orange was imprisoned earlier that day. They wanted to protest the fact that he was in prison, and they did so peacefully with a peaceful march. One of these demonstrators was Jimmy Lee Jackson, a former soldier. He was the youngest deacon in his church and the father of a young daughter. Local officers and state troopers quietly broke up this peaceful march from the church. Demonstrators were forced to run back to the church that they had left, or into nearby houses, or to hide in businesses for safety, one of those being a cafe. Jimmy Lee Jackson and his family ran into the cafe. In the cafe, Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot by an Alabama state trooper as he tried to protect his mother from being beaten by the officers. And Jimmy Lee Jackson died days later on March 2nd. This death, Jimmy Lee Jackson's senseless death, is what helped trigger these marches that we're going to talk about